Hello, my name is Leah and I am with Simply Indie, and here at our 2022 Fest I am here with Jamie, who has a wonderful screenplay. I had the pleasure of getting to hear a little snippet of it last night, and I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about yourself and what kind of inspired you to write this.
Sure. Well, I live in Kansas City, and I'm a nationally touring stand-up comedian. And when the pandemic hit, of course, like just about anybody that is working in entertainment or anywhere where people gather, everything stopped for me, and that meant months of touring shows were just done, and I'm stuck at home. And I had to decide if I was going to wallow in depression or if I was going to figure out a way to turn these days into work days. And so I learned how to write for the screen. And I've been doing it since then, nearly 600 days in a row.
Wow.
I decided to turn it into a habit. And I wanted to write something personal, and Call Me Thor is based on one of the most personal stories I could tell. It takes place in Oklahoma City. Actually, it's based on my experiences in Edmond as a young kid, and a 12-year-old, chubby, heavy metal-loving preteen. He and his mom go on the run from the two abusive men who refuse to let them go. And the way that I try to describe it is, I guess, because people always want to put it into context with something that they've seen before, is I would say it's sort of like if Thelma and Louise met Stand By Me, met Almost Famous, and you spliced all of those together. That's kind of where the DNA of this story came from. It came from my own personal experience, but I decided not to make it an autobiographical story because I've dealt with all the therapy type stuff that you need to deal with, and I thought I would free myself and create a character that maybe was more heroic than I really am, and let their adventure be something that actually young kids can relate to, maybe young kids who are going through a similar rough time at home, instead of creating something that was so traumatic that you wouldn't let kids see it. I wanted to create something that actually would let kids going through a rough time go, oh, I'm not alone, and I enjoy this, I relate to it, and I'm also learning kind of that there are some resources out there that can help me.
Yeah, well, I love that you have kind of learned something from this pandemic and was able to pick up a new skill or a new hobby. I know that for so many of us, that extra time on our hands allowed us to dive in, and for a lot of people, in a creative element as well, and really have that self-exploration. So I love hearing that from you. Do you find that it's harder to write something about your own personal experience and kind of take yourself out of it as you're writing it for an audience that's going to be seeing it outside of yourself and your own experience?
You know what I've learned, and I think it was a good thing that I decided not to write it directly as a mirror of my own experience, and instead decided to fictionalize something and let it just be inspired by my story. Because when I get notes, I think if they were specifically notes to something that was my own life, it would hurt a little bit. That's like, oh, you're criticizing what really happened.
Right.
But now that I'm creating this fictional story, it's allowed me to separate myself from what happened and really take constructive feedback. And I've been so inspired by the journey that I want to work as a writer, and that now is hand in hand as I'm starting to perform again, and things are opening back up and I can do stand-up comedy again. I still want to write, and I'm still writing every day, and so now I feel like they've kind of equaled themselves with their place in my sphere of passion.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting to hear as well, that it's kind of starting to be almost the same as what you were previously doing. And with that being said, I know this is a screenplay. Do you have hopes of turning this into a film one day, or do you kind of just like the writing element and want to keep it as that written piece?
I absolutely want to make this into a film. I think that with stories like this, to reach people and to make them not feel as alone, it's got to be turned into something, because there aren't a lot of people other than people who are either wanting to be writers or are readers for festivals such as this that are going to read a screenplay. It's
Right.
not like having a book out there.
Yeah.
And so I want to get the story made, but I want it to be in the hands of people who are just as passionate about the story as I am, so that I feel like they're going to do it justice. I have had a few offers that just didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I would rather not right now, but it still means the world to me that people wanted to turn it into a film already.
Yeah, well, and that collaboration piece is so important as an artist. No matter what medium you're working through, it's important to have people who connect with your story and who can carry out that vision that you have, like you said, so that it can reach people and maybe impact those who have gone through similar situations and help them get the help that they need. So patience is a virtue, but
That's right.
it will come come along. I believe it. I'll be very excited when it comes into fruition for yourself.
Thanks.
For people who want to connect with you, maybe they're really inspired by this story, maybe they want to reach out and potentially work with you, or just kind of follow your journey as you are embarking on this new career. What's the best way for them to connect with you online?
Yeah, I would say the best way would be just to go to jamiecampbellcomedy.com. Because I started my career working directly in comedy. I'd say probably about half of what I write is comedic, even though this is a dramatic screenplay. There's definitely still a lot of comedy in it, though. But just go to jamiecampbellcomedy.com. I have all of my social media stuff. My email is on there. You can contact me directly through the website. That'd be the best.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate you being here. And maybe one day we will see the film in real life here at Simply Indie.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.